Hello. This presentation will be covering how podcasting works and how it can be effectively used in a library environment. This presentation is for Information Technology 6080 and was created by Elizabeth Bryan, Caitlin Hickey, Andrew Marshall, Thomas Piserchia, and myself, Paige Greer. First, let's answer the question, what are podcasts? The term podcast is derived from the terms iPod and broadcast, meaning the origin of podcasts come from transmitting a program or information by way of a portable electronic device. The term was created in 2004 and since has gone beyond just portable devices, although that is still where a majority of podcasts are listened to. From a quick Google search, the first result is the Oxford English Dictionary definition that a podcast is a digital audio file made available on the internet for downloading to a computer or mobile device, typically available as a series, new installments of which can be received by subscribers automatically. To expand on that definition, the audio files are shared through an RSS, which is defined as a rich site summary or a really simple syndication, depending on different parts of the web. Upon subscribing to a podcast in order to hear new audio files on a regular basis, the RSS creates a feed in which podcast listeners subscribe to the feed and then are updated with the new audio files as they come out. These audio files are typically MP3 files, so that they can be compressed and save bandwidth for podcast listeners who download or stream them. The content in podcasts has a vast range, from daily news updates to long-form fictional storytelling. Popular types of podcasts include genres such as true crime, political analysis, pop culture analysis, historical or scientifically themed informational podcasts, and more. Podcasts may explore one topic for an entire season or may explore new topics on each episode. Podcasters are typically present in each episode and may include guests that sometimes appear on a recurring basis. Ultimately, whether they exist to be informative, entertaining, or anything in between, there are 90 million people a month tuning into them, according to a 2018 Edison research findings.
Now let's take a look at how to subscribe to and play a podcast. First, you'll need an application that can play back podcasts. Since Spotify can be downloaded on both computers and mobile devices, we'll be downloading Spotify in order to play our podcasts. We'll be heading to Spotify.com in order to download this software, but it may be available on your device's app store as well. You will need a Spotify account, where it asks for a bit of information including your email in order to be able to sign into your new account. Since I have a Spotify account, I will click Login at the bottom of the page. Next, the application file should automatically begin to download. You will need to click the file in your Downloads folder to now install the application. Once you sign into the application, you will see a panel on the left side of your screen. At the top, you will see the word Browse. We'll click on Browse and be taken to a new page. Next to Genres and Moods, click Podcasts and scroll to explore the different kinds of podcasts there are. We can see what the top listened to podcasts are, so let's click on that. Let's click on Up first to view what a podcast page looks like. You will find podcast episodes and their descriptions, so it's this bar that shows the progress of how much you have listened to an episode. There's also the date that the episode was uploaded, and the total length of the podcast episode as well is listed. Simply click on an episode to play it. You'll notice you can skip 15 seconds forward or backward, or skip to a new podcast or go back to a previous podcast by using the buttons. In order to subscribe to a podcast and automatically be updated and notified when new episodes are released, press Follow. And that's it. Now you know how to subscribe to and play podcasts.
There are many options to look at when deciding to publish a podcast. A user could create their own website to host the podcast on, or they could use others to host their podcast and send it to the masses. For those looking to create a podcast, becoming familiar with the various names and programs is essential. Podcasting is a newer technology that has recently become popular because of streaming services, since it makes it easy for users to access them anywhere. In order to create a successful podcast, the user needs to be able to navigate through various applications and software programs that are available to use. Some options to consider for future podcast creators is to look at what their technology skill level is and what type of product and audience they want to establish. A new user needs to look at the various hosting services in order to see what is best for them. The hosting services make storing and sharing content easy, and they often provide technical perks to elevate the quality of the audio with special features. You can have the ability to share to multiple distributors with RSS feeds, and podcast hosting services also can simplify the process of adding cover art and descriptions, embedding or sharing files on social media or other websites, and can even optimize your audio file formats. There are many options available for the user to choose, and these are some of them. So the first choice we have here is Buzzsprout. It is one of the most popular hosting services in use. According to many guides used in podcasting, they describe Buzzsprout as an easy service to use as a beginner. Its starting cost is $12, but they also offer free trials to test. According to many reviews, Buzzsprout has the most user-friendly interface, and it's often described as clean. So here you can see that it does cost money, but you can start a free podcast for 90 days. Liberated Syndicated is another hosting service that is well known. Libsyn, as it is commonly referred to, was established in 2004, so many people are familiar with it and rely on its services. It does have a monthly fee, but it is one of the cheaper options. It's about $5. So it does have an older feel to it. That's how it's been described, which could be a positive or negative depending on the user's skill level. And another point to know is that according to some reviewers, it does have connections here, as you can see, to sharing with certain directories. So it can connect to Spotify, it can connect to Stitcher. That's just some of the options. Podbean is a hosting service that merges simple user access and capabilities of joining the larger market with advertising to make money off the podcast. It has its services starting at about $9, which is a reasonable price. It offers both mobile and web platforms for the service and has a benefit of unlimited bandwidth. Podbean would be one of the hosting services that would benefit someone looking to make podcasting a productive endeavor. Another option that may be familiar name because of its use as a music sharing platform. However, it's also a popular service for podcasts. If a podcaster wants to monitor who listens to their podcasts and how many people view their content, SoundCloud is a good choice, which offers tools to observe that data. The Pro or Premium offer starts at about $12 a month. So you can see here, you can share easily, connect easily, and grow your following. And it does offer Pro Unlimited. SoundCloud also offers very good step-by-steps on how to set up a podcast. So there's getting started, there's setting up the RSS feed and connecting to one of the directories, which is iTunes. And it also talks about looking at the statistics that are available, and it helps answer some common questions. It also does give an exact breakdown of creating your account and creating profile information and adjusting your content settings to make sure that it is easily to find for people looking in that content area or subject area. And so these are some of the different options if you decide to use SoundCloud Pro instead of the basic, which is free. It just offers a lot more tools for podcasting, especially with the audio and editing features. And finally, SoundCloud also has another advice section on how to submit your SoundCloud podcast feed to other platforms. So once you upload your information, upload your podcast audio, you can submit your feed to Stitcher or TuneIn, and they give you pro tips. And then looking at the directories, so those are the places where if a user is looking to broadcast to a mainstream audience, finding a podcast directory to publish to can amplify the amount of people able to access their podcast. Looking at popular applications that stream podcasts can give the podcaster an idea which brands are popular. So there are Apple Podcasts, which is formerly iTunes, the most popular listening platform. It's exclusive for the iOS store. but it does offer connections to other platforms like Podcast Addict, Castbox, Overcast, which expands audience even more. Spotify currently accounts for about 5% of podcast downloads. So it's showing a positive trend for the future. And they also purchased 3 podcast companies for $400 million, which shows that they're very serious about expanding their market with podcasting. And then finally, one of the bigger top ones as well is Google, which already has many tech adventures, and podcasting is no exception. Google offers similar exposure for podcasters as Apple because the large amount of people subscribe to their services. And there are many high-profile choices for audio hosting and directories. These are just some of the possibilities that could provide the right resources for anyone who may want to create a podcast.
One of the benefits of podcasts is their affordability. At minimum, all you will need is some sort of microphone, an audio editing program, and access to the internet. There are plenty of USB microphones and headset mics available at different price points that can match any budget. If you are investing in a better mic, it is important to consider different microphone polar patterns. Omnidirectional mics are great if you plan to record people speaking while sat around a table or ambient noise from multiple directions. Cardioid mics are great if the podcast is run by one host speaking directly into a mic. It can minimize the negative effects that come from recording in a room that has no soundproofing. Bidirectional mics are perfect for podcasts that often have 2 people sat across from one another, as it picks up sound from both the front and the back.
Audacity is a free, easy-to-use program perfect for the new podcast creator. To use this program, simply choose the appropriate microphone input here and hit record. When you're finished recording, hit stop. Once you have recorded your audio, you can edit it. You can easily cut out dead spots by clicking and dragging and then hitting the cut tool. You can add a secondary recording by going to Tracks and hitting Add New. A great place to go for royalty-free music is Purple Planet. All you have to do is click Free Download for a song that you like, and it will take you to this page where you can do a direct download. Once you have your audio, you can import it by going to File, Import, Audio. Select the file that you chose, and it should open automatically into a new track. You can cut it, where appropriate, to fit the length of your podcast. You can adjust the volume so it doesn't overpower your words. Once you're happy with your audio, you can export it by going to File, Export, and then choosing your preferred format. Once you have your file ready, you'll need to upload it to a hosting service. One of the most popular is SoundCloud. It is easy to make a free account, and once you have your account, all you need to do is go to Upload and then choose your file. As your file uploads, you can change your title, give it genre tags such as learning, news and politics, science, and describe what your podcast is about and tag it so it's easier to find. Then hit Save. Once your file has uploaded, you can view it and then click on the Pen tool to edit. Make sure to change your permissions to allow it to be included in an RSS feed and save your changes. To access your RSS feed link, hit the 3 dots at the upper right-hand corner of SoundCloud and go to Settings. From Settings, go to Content. Your link can be found here. Copy it so you can distribute it through other channels. When you have the link to your RSS feed, you can open iTunes to add it to their distribution list. Simply log into your account, go to Store, and then View Podcasts. On the side, you'll see an option to submit a podcast. It will prompt you to log in and then take you to this screen where you can paste in your RSS feed link, then hit Validate and Submit. Because this is just a test, I do not want to submit it to the RSS feed for iTunes.
Hi, my name is Andrew Marshall, and I'm going to be discussing how podcasting technologies are used in libraries currently. So, in her article, The Sound of a Librarian, Tara Barbizon said that the medium is not the message, but that doesn't mean that the medium isn't important. So, for example, Twitter can be used to reach a wide variety of people very quickly with just the communication of quick thoughts, but it's not the best method to try and convey complex or lengthy ideas to people. And so choosing the correct medium, whether you're a small town librarian, an academic library, is quite important.
So libraries have been using podcasting technology for a while with varying degrees of success. I read that in 2005, a library in New York was one of the first that would allow patrons to check out iPods that had audiobooks loaded on them. Some universities tried to use podcasts to send out homework assignments, but it's been relatively mixed until quite recently, where smartphone technology has allowed patrons to download, interact, and really utilize this service much better than in the past. And so for adult patrons, this can be everything from professional development to podcasts for book clubs. For example, a library in Virginia does a classic book club where they'll tackle literature such as War and Peace 100 pages at a time and coordinate podcast discussions with their Facebook page so that it's like being in a very large virtual book group. For children, of course, it's very helpful for their homework because they can not only listen to a lesson being explained or to a story being read, but by and large, they'll also have transcripts to fall back on as a secondary reinforcement of what they're learning. And interestingly, these transcripts also assist because, of course, there could be members of the community that have poor eyesight or could be deaf, and deaf people utilize podcasts as well by reading the transcripts and joining in the discussions. For students with poor eyesight, they find that podcasts allows them to continue learning so their eyes can take a break while doing homework. So it's a supportive mechanism for them. There's also an interesting concept of a walking classroom where students receive lessons on a preloaded device that combines a 20-minute walk with their education. So according to the purveyors, it helps students be focused, keeps them more attentive than sitting slumped in a classroom, and has been quite useful in increasing comprehension of lessons that are delivered in that medium. Podcasting can also be used to repackage existing content for broader audiences. And so the London School of Economics features a podcast that guides individuals through their libraries from the front door all the way to the exit, as they say on their website. And so rather than creating new media, it's supplanting existing media that may not have been noticed or may easily be overlooked by patrons without having an idea of where to go.
Hello, my name is Tom Pasterstra, and I'm going to be talking about podcasts and future research in libraries. Before I do that, I'm going to give a brief demonstration on how to look for the best podcast for research projects. So the first thing to do is to find a website for a prominent institution. So the Walter P. Reuther Library would be a perfect choice. It's a very simple process. You just click on podcasts. You scroll down and you see that there are many options: iTunes, Spotify, Overcast. When it comes to picking a topic, you can pick this one, for example, and you can see below that it gives you a brief explanation about what the podcast is about and also who is giving the podcast. If the person who is recording the podcast, if that person is a prominent academic professor, it makes the podcast more reliable as a research tool, and it can be used in many research projects. So as we know, libraries use podcasts for many different reasons. They may use them to promote library events, and or they might use them to promote other library services that patrons might need to know. They also can use podcasts to help library patrons when it comes to research projects. There are two ways that this can be done. Number one, libraries can post podcasts on their websites of professional academics talking about how to construct or how to write a research paper. Research can be a very long and tedious process, and sometimes it's not easy for everyone to just research a project, so they might need to know how to do it properly. And so podcasts by professionals can help them when it comes to certain techniques, like what type of sources to use for what topic, or what type of topic they would use for a research paper, things of that nature. Now, some might argue that because it's just audio, it's not enough to help, but it can still help people because it's presented by people who are professionals and academics. The second reason that podcasts can be very helpful to library patrons is that if libraries post them when it comes to recorded events and or lectures. So let's just say a prominent historian was coming to a library to promote a book, and he was talking about the Civil War. If there was a library patron who was required to do a research paper about the Civil War, they could attend that lecture, or they could not, but they can listen to a podcast to listen to that lecture, even if they cannot come, or just to review it as well. And they can use it to help better understand the era, or help understand a topic, or at least come to understanding of what type of topic they might want to do. Even if there's no guarantee, they can still be very helpful when it comes to research projects. So in conclusion, podcasts have become a very prominent social media outlet throughout the past few years. Although the term itself was not even coined until 2004, it has since become very prominent in many professions. They also are very helpful in other areas. They are especially helpful to libraries because they help libraries not only promote certain events and or the library itself, they use it to uh, archive audio that's important and or record lectures that it might help students and or give them educational tools on how to be a better student. So this research group project was for the class, it was used for INF 6080, the information technology, and this presentation was presented by Paige Greer, Elizabeth Bryan, Caitlin Hickey, Andrew Marshall, and myself, Tom Pasersha. And the idea was that how effective podcasts can be as a social media outlet and how they can continue to help libraries now and even more so in the future.